I'm Nadine Pemberton Baptiste. I'm a lawyer, and I work for an organisation called the Gambling Commission in England, and I'm their general counsel. So when I'm thinking about how people can have a look at their own skills and think about their own skill sets and what development they might need, the first thing that I think about is asking other people. So I'm a real believer in 360 feedback in the workplace. In fact, I've just read today a report of 360 feedback on myself from various peers. And I think, if you can ask 5 people, what are my strengths? What are the things that I could do better? How do you see me? It can be quite confronting, but it's real. And I think that's a really wonderful way to learn about yourself from others and actually take some time to stop and think and reflect about yourself. I also think there is something about not hiding your light under a bushel. I think sometimes as women, we can do that more so. But actually, if you stop and take some time to journal or type out what your strengths are, what are you good at? What is the kind of work that you do that makes you feel good? Because I think it's really about, a lot of times it is about how do we feel, how you connecting with the feeling and the doing. I think that's really important. And I think also, and certainly this is one thing I do when I think about where I need to develop, I look at the things that I avoid or the things that I procrastinate on, and I write them down. And again, sometimes it's quite hard to see, but ultimately we have to be honest with ourselves about what are our strengths, what would it be even better if we did. But I think coming from it from a strengths-based perspective is really powerful and really empowering. So always starting with, what am I good at? What do I like? What do people say they value about me and what I do? And really think about what we value about ourselves and what we do. I have a real passion for active listening, and I've been doing some work recently to develop my active listening skills. And I've been on a Time to Think Foundation program, which is a wonderful way of being that helps us to listen, just to listen, to actually give people attention so that they know that time is for them. And some of the elements of this are about creating ease, so people feel at ease and can be heard. They feel able to give their voice. It's about showing appreciation, so you appreciate what the person said. It's about things like not interrupting and not listening to respond. It's about listening just to listen, because I find that a lot of times, meeting culture can be such that there's so much to do, so much to get through, and there's a rush to be heard, there's a rush to interrupt. Actually, that's not good for the person who is speaking, and it's not really good for the listener, because neither gets the full attention that they need. So it's really about, if we can be still and listen, just to listen, not listen to respond, not listen to give our opinion, but to give people really important time to think and think through whatever it is that they're working through, whether it's a work matter, whether it's a personal matter, then that really helps. So I've been doing quite a lot of work around that at the moment, and I think it's been really important for me to see how I can be a better listener, and really important for other people to be heard in a better way. So it's never too late to start building your toolkit, because this journey of life that we're on is about learning and development all of the time. We never stop learning. And I think, we've got to shy away from being afraid of not knowing. So not knowing how to do something, not knowing about something is perfectly fine. And that's the only way that we will learn something new, is when we acknowledge that we don't know about it. And I think there are so many different tools that people can use, whether it's somebody who's not done a lot of reflection in their life. A skill is to learn how to reflect. It doesn't have to be, I've got to go and do a course that might cost £5,000-6,000, dollars, or whatever other currency people are working in. It's actually about, what can I do to better myself? So starting with a simple tool like just reflecting more, on the things that you're doing and how you feel, I think is really powerful. And I also think there's a wealth of information out there in areas where people might want to develop. So if people are interested in leadership development, you know, you can look at various things on the internet, different kinds of talks, lots of different tools to help you think about what kind of leader you are or what kind of leader you want to be. And it's never too late and it's never too early to start. Skills that companies and organisations are looking for now, probably more than ever: flexibility, the ability to be agile and adapt. And I think, you know, if you're a person who can embrace change, whether you like it or not, some people like change and some people don't, but if you can embrace that, I think those are some of the qualities that people, you know, companies, organisations, etc., teams are looking for. I think there's an increased emphasis, or at least there should be, on emotional intelligence and on being able to do whatever job it is that you're doing, whatever role you're in, but also do that in a caring way, because we've had several years where we've really had to think about our own health and well-being, and we've really had to think about the health and well-being of our people, you know, whether that's in the workplace or elsewhere. And I think that's even more important now. And organisations, I'm certainly seeing, there's a more human element to what organisations are looking for, which is wonderful, and as it should be. And it's a shame that it took us through a pandemic to get there, I think, but actually it's better to get there. I think we have probably perhaps had a notion that success looks like a particular thing, and so everybody will have their idea of what they think success looks like. But success is different for everybody, you know. So what's my success will be different to you, because we're all individual. And I think that's got to be the starting point for people who think, oh, I haven't had a, you know, I don't do a traditional job and I haven't had a traditional, whatever traditional might mean, you know, development route or educational route or working life. None of that matters, because it doesn't matter what you do in your home life and your work life. You are leading in some way. It doesn't matter what you do. There are people that will look up to you, and there are people that you can inspire just from being who you are. You know, somebody might be having a really bad time. That person gets up in the morning and manages to get out of bed and make themselves a cup of tea. They've succeeded that day. I think sometimes we look at success as particular things. Oh, I've got a job that pays me 6 figures, or I've bought a house and it has 3 bedrooms and I don't know how many bathrooms. You know, for some people I get that that's important, but is that really success, or is that just stuff? You know, so the success bit is how we are with ourselves, and I also think how we can spread the wonderful parts of ourselves to other people. I think that's what success really is. So my thoughts about the, you know, the state of women in leadership at the moment. I know things are improving, and I know, you know, I think there's a tendency to be overly pleased about where we are. And I don't really take that stance. So my view is it's wonderful that we have, you know, an increased number of women leaders, whether that's in Rotary, whether it's in, you know, business, entrepreneurship, whatever it's in, but it's still not enough. And I think, certainly from my perspective, you know, from a Rotarian perspective, I love the fact that we have a female Rotary International president and that there's another in the pipeline, but it's not enough. So yes, we have made steps, but there's a lot more for us to do. The best piece of leadership advice that I've ever received is, and it wasn't advice as such, but it was a way that somebody was with me, and it was, it's okay to make a mistake, and it's all right to own up to that mistake, essentially. So I'm a lawyer and I give legal advice, and I was involved in a case some years ago, nothing controversial, but I had missed a particular deadline, and there'd been some miscommunication. And there was a particular leader, an absolutely incredible man. He was responsible for that particular piece of work. And so, you know, there'd been a complaint about me to him. And I was really worried, relatively new in the organisation. And he rang me and he said, it's okay. So that was the first thing that he said to me was, it's okay. What do we need to do to sort this out? And I said, this is what we need to do. He said, can you do that? And I said, yes. And I did it. And it was okay. And for me, that's really stuck with me because I didn't know anything about compassionate leadership or anything like that at that point. But he was embodying that. He was so compassionate. He was so graceful. And I was the one that had made the mistake. And so that really taught me a lot. So I really believe in we're human. Like, it was a really human way that he worked with me. And that for me has been the best piece of leadership learning that I've ever received from a particular person. How we are with other people when we're leaders sets the tone for how they are when they lead people. It sets the tone for them and how they feel they can develop, and that they feel that they don't have to be perfect. And it was just a wonderful gift that he gave me. One of the things that I'm really enjoying, now that we're moving out of COVID, is being back at the office. And I think it's a really important environment because many people do still have, whether it's 5 days a week or whatever they work in an office, they still have that connection. And it's a place where we see the people that we work with every day, we connect with them, we make a cup of tea in the kitchen, all those kinds of things. And it's really important. And I think, for leaders in an organisation, it's really important for us to, as far as we can, know who the people are that are doing the work for our organisation. Say hello to them. You don't have to know everything about people, but say hello. How are you? I was in the kitchen with somebody today at work, and they were telling me that they were going to their son's parents' evening today. And we had a really nice conversation about that. There is something about being open, being yourself, and then others can reflect that back. So the more open that we are and the more vulnerable that we are, we say, it's this thing about we're not perfect and I made a mistake and I shouldn't have done that. If we don't do that, it can be really hard for our people within our organisations to do that. And if we're to create cultures of safety, then safety also means helping our people to understand, it's great when everything goes well, but in reality, everything doesn't always go well. So I think that's one important thing. And I think also working in diverse organisations is something that's really important. And, I know people talk about bringing themselves to work. It's more than that. Yeah, it's about creating a space where people can talk about their differences. It's about, letting our Muslim colleagues know that at Ramadan we support them and we're not going to put meetings in at particular times that will make it difficult for them during their fasting period. We're not going to eat food in front of them, when they can't do that. For colleagues who are LGBTQ+, we're going to support you, not just in LGBTQ History Week, but all throughout the year. And it's great for you to be who you are. And so as leaders, we have got to embody that so that the people in our organisations can feel safe to do that. Oh, so what's giving me hope at the moment is I see women coming together. I see women talking to each other. I see women creating spaces for themselves and for each other where they can be heard, they can be listened to, they can laugh, they can have fun, they can forget about all the other things that are going in their lives apart from being in that moment. And I think that's really important. I think it's really powerful. And the more that we do that, the more that those who come behind us and those followers will feel like this is just a natural part of how I am. I have time with other women. I lift up other women. And for me, that is really, really beautiful and really, really important. And that's the legacy that as women leaders right now, we're leaving. And that, I think, is amazing. I think the most important thing for women to take away from this International Women's Day, thinking about their leadership toolkit, is to, first and foremost, always back yourself. You have to back yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to, even if it means writing it down, remember all of the incredible things that you have done and you're still here. all of the difficult things that you've been through, and you're still here. And so I think that's really important, because sometimes, you know, and I work with a range of people in various organisations. Sometimes I see women not backing themselves, and sometimes I've seen myself not backing myself. You know, and when I've been in that situation, actually, it's not been the best for me. So I've had to really value myself. And I think when you value yourself as highly as you can, actually, you'll remember what a fantastic leader you are, what a great person you are to be around, how much you've done, you know, and your impact for other people.